A new player sentiment analysis contradicts what Ubisoft claimed was the case for Assassin's Creed Shadows. Ubisoft has claimed that the game has positive player sentiment, but this new analysis claims that is not the case, and it actually has negative player sentiment. And remember, they claim this in front of investors, so it's possible they lied to investors. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com, and this player sentiment analysis comes to us from this organization called PlayerXP. But before we get to that, let's go over what Ubisoft had to say in their most recent sales conference call in July. An investor from HSBC asked about how pre-orders for both Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows compared to previous Ubisoft releases. And Ubisoft's CEO, Yves Guillemot, responded, "We don't disclose nor comment on pre-orders. Usually what we can say, what we've been observing and measuring, is that our two big titles actually are among the most awaited games of the industry, and they enjoy very strong, positive community sentiment overall." However, as we noted, that is not what PlayerXP's community sentiment report for Assassin's Creed Shadow says. It disputes this claim, and it says here that, quote, "the overall sentiment calculated, which represents the voice of the players, is -13. Negative 13 there. Negative player sentiment. Breaking down player sentiment by social media platform, it had a -14 rating on YouTube, where the majority of interactions came from. Basically, the majority of the interactions that they analyzed came from. A -7 rating on X, a +2 rating on TikTok, and a -55 rating on Facebook, albeit it only factored in 105 interactions from that social media website. Again, like I said, most of the interactions came from YouTube. I think over 100,000 came from YouTube. Yeah, we're looking at 113,000 here on their little chart there. Furthermore, the analysis detailed many of the biggest talking points and keywords have negative sentiment, including Japan, Ubisoft, Yasuke, and history. PlayerXP noted this: these all have significant negative sentiment associated, with the historical element being the most negative at -45. This has been driven by players expressing concerns about the historical accuracy and cultural depiction of the game. It added this: additionally, the character Yasuke has received a negative sentiment score of -17 from the player community, aligning with the themes players have highlighted inaccuracies related to this character. It is worth noting that Ubisoft player community is highly engaged, with a record number of interactions in a short date range, and talking points around excitement of the new launch drove positive sentiment +34. So even with all of that positive sentiment around the release of the game being excited, it still has an overall negative sentiment of -14. So later in the report here, PlayerXP also detailed this, that one of the primary areas of negative sentiment emerged around the monetization category. Notably, the monetization topic is a recurring source of dissatisfaction, as seen in the community's reaction to both Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws. The player community has voiced frustrations about Ubisoft's perceived prioritization of monetization strategies over player experience, a sentiment that is influencing their reception of Assassin's Creed Shadows. The consistent negative feedback regarding monetization strategies suggests that players feel unheard, affecting their overall trust in Ubisoft. Obviously, I think the most famous example of that is Asmongold basically just torching them in his video that went significantly viral when he was calling out the monetization for both Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows, and how he speculated they're literally trying to drive people to their subscription service with how they were pricing their products, pricing these games, and the various levels they have pricing them. It's highly likely that Ubisoft already knows that player sentiment around the game is negative, as Nick Dempsey from Barclays in the call specifically asked Guillemot during the call. He said this: when you talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows being the most ambitious, are you hoping for it to be the best-selling Assassin's Creed game? And Guillemot said this, at this time, we can say that AC to be among the high sellers of the company so far. So obviously evading on that question, but I think he revealed that it will not be the best-selling Assassin's Creed game of all time. I think that is abundantly clear when he says it's going to be among the high sellers rather than the highest selling, or confirming that it would be the best selling. So what I think is the best selling game, what we kind of know from previous reports, is that Assassin's Creed Valhalla is the best selling game. Eurogamer reported in February 2022, over 2 years ago, that game earned more than $1 billion in revenue just by itself. So I think they know that things are not going to go as well for them as what they probably initially hoped. And that is because they know that the player sentiment is negative. There is people boycotting this game, and they will not be purchasing this game because of how they have tried to sell it, what they have done to try and gaslight people regarding how they tried to sell it, specifically about that it was going to be historically accurate, claiming that Yasuke is a legendary samurai, etc., and all the backlash that has ensued, which we have covered in depth here on the channel. But let me know what you guys make of this report that contradicts Ubisoft's claims that there is positive sentiment around this game, when this report clearly says that there is negative sentiment around the game, so much so that it is minus 14. Let me know what you guys make of this in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.